Hi, this is Mike Evanoff, and we are recording a series of videos about Google Earth Enterprise. And this video will be about your imagery project. And so to get to our imagery projects, we open up the Asset Manager. And in the last video, we created some imagery resources, and we have an imagery project that's left over from when we built the blue marble. So we have this imagery project that we've already built, and it has one thing in it. It has just the blue marble. So we're going to take a few minutes to just describe this interface for the imagery projects and talk about how we add more information to an imagery project. So first of all, I mentioned earlier that we have the capability to do a historic imagery project, which allows users to fade back and forth to see previous images for a particular location and back. So if you want to do that, we have this button called Support Historical Imagery. And as soon as you click that, your imagery project will now be a historic imagery project. Before you click that, every single imagery resource in this project has to have a date associated with it. Otherwise, it'll fail. So if I click on this right now, I'll get an error message. And it says, oh, the blue marble does not have a date on it, because we didn't put a date on the blue marble when we first built it. We can add a date later, so I can put in a date right here. So I can create a date and save it. And now, when I click that Show Historic Imagery, I don't get the error anymore. Now, if you have a project that already has hundreds of resources in it, none of them have dates, you're going to have to go back and add dates to each one of them if you're going to make a historic project. So, a few other things about this interface. In the last video, we created several different imagery resources. So we have the blue marble, we have Landsat, we have San Francisco grayscale, and then this one was a 15-meter resource. I can just take these resources and drag them into the existing project. Okay, so now I have an imagery project with two resources. So I can either drag and drop, or I can just open them using this button and go find. So we have the San Francisco grayscale, and we have another one. Okay? Now, typically you'll have many, many resources and one project. Okay, so the project, when people open up your globe, and for example, if I go back to Louisiana, what you'll see, this is the imagery project. Okay, what the user sees in the globe is the imagery project. And this imagery project has a blue marble, so we have the big blue marble that covers everything but the United States. Then they have another resource that's the continental United States, and that's at a little bit higher resolution. And then down in Louisiana, they have a number of different resources. So it looks like they have their resources broken up by county, but you can actually see, the different resources. So you can see that one resource is kind of a different green color. So this is the idea behind an imagery project. It's multiple resources added into a single view. So when we talk about an imagery project, what we're really talking about is all of the data that the user will see on the globe when they log into your system. So we have this dialog box now that has all of our imagery added to it. You'll notice that they have these numbers, 6, 13, 14, 18. So those are resolutions. This is ordered by the resolution of the data. So the lowest resolution is on the bottom, and the highest resolution is on top. And that's the way that Google Earth will present this data to your users. When they zoom in, the highest resolution imagery will be on top. And then underneath is the next lowest, and underneath is the next lowest. So they will always be looking at the highest resolution available imagery that you've added to your project. So if you have high resolution on top of low resolution, they won't see that low resolution that's underneath the high resolution. Sometimes you'll have a customer or you'll have an image that comes in that's brand new, and you really want your users to be able to see it, but maybe it's at a little bit lower resolution than what's there, and unfortunately it'll be covered. So we do have a way for you to bubble up lower resolution imagery up so that users will see it. So for example, if I want this Landsat to be above this imagery, this one, I right click and adjust the max level override and drop it down to 13. Okay? And this will allow me to push that high resolution image down lower in the stack. So I can now push it under. So this image will now show on top of the higher resolution image. So we have the ability for you to manually adjust the different levels to offset that default behavior of having the best imagery on top. And then I can put that back up to 14 where it was, and it will pop back up on top of the other image. So this is the interface that we really kind of add and organize and move around images so that we can have the whole collection available to the user. There's a preview button here. So if you're wondering where are these images, if you want to see where is this data, we can click the preview button. And so when I have one of my layers highlighted, it will show on the globe where that layer is. So this is my Landsat imagery. My 15 meter was this blue box down here, and the high resolution, the San Francisco grayscale, is this red box. So using this interface, we can also preview as well as just build and shuffle the data. Now there's a few other dialogues here. When the user logs into the globe, and I'll give an example of Louisiana, you can see that there's an icon here next to imagery, and the label says imagery. By default, you'll have this little red icon for your imagery, and it will say imagery. If you don't want it to say imagery, you use a different word. You can use a different icon so that users can click on it. So this just allows you to sort of modify what the users see in the bottom left corner when they see that imagery layer. And beyond that, that's the Imagery Project dialog box is pretty straightforward. Okay, so drag and drop images in, or use the white icon to add more images. And then we can modify a few little things, and if you want to, you can change the relative resolution and height of the images. Other than that, once we're done, we just save it and build it. And this will finish the processing of the imagery project. Thanks.